oblivious to its disrepair. Frustration spread through him. She hadn't remembered the significance of the day. She wouldn't come with him to see their daughter win the championship match. She would only continue gardening, face forward, as though the world in which William and their daughters lived had disappeared behind her. In the kitchen, he passed Louise, absorbed in a gossip magazine, both feet up on a chair. William sometimes wondered whether he had accidentally hired her to lounge full-time in his kitchen rather than to care for his wife. "Hello, Louise," he said pointedly, and she uttered something incomprehensibly Australian without looking up from her page. "Goodbye, Louise," he said, amused with himself, then took an apple for the road and stepped outside into the fading afternoon. It was a perfect time of day. He had the sense that a net of light had fallen over the world. He crossed his yard and moved out onto the golf course that stretched behind the houses of Little Lane, smelling the grass beneath his feet, luxuriating in the give of the soil. He, William Adair, moved easily against the resisting force of the world. He was a presence, walking across the golf course in his yellow polo shirt. This knowledge expanded him. He didn't turn to dwell on the Carriage House. Instead, he moved forward, passing his neighbors' backyards. So generous did he feel, so vast, that he waved at Mrs. Cheshire, who was taking her laundry off the line. He wasn't annoyed by the flock of pink plastic flamingos that Sheldon Ball's kook of a mother had planted in their backyard and that Sheldon had failed to remove since her death. It was a pleasant sensation to lift so high above the issue of the flamingos, to ascend over the Carriage House. He even waved at the Muslim man who had moved in at the corner of Little Lane and Clubhouse Road. Usmani stood up from whatever surreptitious hole he was digging in his yard. He glanced over his shoulder, turned back with a confused look, then lifted his hand toward William. William shook his head at his own high spirits. The clubhouse rose before him, red brick facade supported by white columns, settled between two magnolia trees. The symmetries of its architecture buoyed him. William was a man who appreciated columns. Rather than moving straight through the clubhouse, he took his usual detour down the back hall, lined with wooden plaques commemorating club tennis champions back to 1892. Under men's club champion, his own name, William Adair, appeared in gold paint 7 times, from 1967 to 1974. Henry, his brother, won it from 1963 to 1965, before he went to war. Their father's name appeared 6 times in the span between 1941 and 1951. When his famous rivalry with George Legg drew spectators from as far as Delaware. And on the ladies' plaque, William's girls. Despite their mother's genes, they were each born with enormous potential. Elizabeth was club champion from 1981 to 1983. At 12 years old, she beat Mrs. Weld with her stolid thighs and her passive-aggressive pacifism in neighborhood association meetings, with her sunny collusions during the Carriage House coup d'etat. That was one of the best days of William's life. If only he could once more see Elizabeth running up to volley, staring across the net with such intensity that Mrs. Weld started cranking framers up onto the clubhouse roof. He would die a happy man. And then, from 1984 to 1999, Diana reigned. What a satisfying thing it was to see, that column of Diana Adairs. 14 of them lined up, interrupted only by those 2 disappointing years. No one at the club could match that. Not Jack and Elaine Weld, with their simpering daughter. Certainly not that Cheshire girl. No, the clubhouse plaques belonged to the Adairs. Only Izzy was absent. There were, of course, a couple of Isabelle Adairs on the girls' club championship plaque from the years before she quit. But she was the most talented of them all. William considered the carpet beneath his feet. It was more threadbare.